Today I'm going to be talking about turbos and why they prematurely fail, and also why they leak. This is a turbo cartridge. Basically the internals of a turbo is a cutaway, so I wanted to point some things out and possible problems you can get with turbochargers, especially ones that you buy brand new. You drive it down the road and then it just fails on you, or you drive it a month and then it's gone, So this side is the turbine side, the exhaust side. So the exhaust gases drive this wheel, which in turn turns everything, which turns a compressor wheel, which then the turbo creates boost pressure. It's quite a simple device, but it's also quite a precision device as well. They can run 100,000 RPM to 150,000 RPM, so very, very fast. So with that in mind, you need to make sure these have always got good oil. Now, if you look here, this is the exhaust exit. Sorry, the oil drain. That's where the oil drains back down to the bottom of the engine, and this side is the oil inlet. Now notice here there's two tiny little channels here, and there's a channel there, and it also goes to this one. These bearings are brass. The rest of this, or most of this, is steel. Now people buy these, and sometimes what happens is they don't prime them correctly, and because if you don't prime them correctly, these things are going to wear out quickly. So basically, to prime it, you've got to put oil in here. This may not be an official procedure, but this is how I do it. Is I put the oil in here, fill it up to the top, use my thumb, push it over the top to provide a little bit of pressure to like hydraulic pressure to force the oil down, and then you spin the wheel either side a couple of times, and then the oil level should go down, and then when it's fully primed you should see oil coming out the bottom side of the turbo or the cartridge. So once that's done, then it's properly primed. You shouldn't have any problems unless there's obviously external problems which haven't been fixed, which I'll go through shortly. Now, as these are brass, if you just put the oil feed on and you don't prime the turbo, and these are dry, you start up that engine, yeah, it might seem okay, but if this hasn't got oil, this brass is just going to wear, because it's brass and it's softer than steel, so it'll just wear really fast. And what happens is people who don't prime the turbos properly, like I said, these things wear, and then it just causes the whole thing to leak, and sometimes it even causes a nut on the end of the compressor side to come loose. Well, it doesn't actually come loose. What happens is some damage happens inside, and then it causes the shaft to get slack, which in turn makes the nut loose. Some people think the nut comes loose by itself. It doesn't, because these things are tested on a flow bench machine before they are packaged up to be sold. So they have to test them thoroughly, and they have to make sure everything's right. So there's no way that nut's just going to come off on its own. Now, there's a few other things to note. This ring here is like a piston ring. It's got a little split in it. So this is kind of an oil seal. There's a O-ring here. Under this there's another type of piston ring as well. Now, some of the features may not be exactly the same on every turbo core, but this is the best example you can show. Now, also there's other ways of making the turbo fail. If you've got a really clogged air filter, this can cause some adverse effects in the turbo, and it can cause problems on the intake side, and then it can basically blow the seals, and then the turbo can leak. Similar thing on the exhaust side. If you've got a blocked diesel particle filter or a blocked catalytic converter, it can cause uneven pressures, things like that, so that, you know, it's like, say for example, the air is coming out of your exhaust manifold into your turbo, and then it's going to your cat, and your cat's blocked, or your DPF's blocked. Then some of that air is going to circle back round and come back to the exhaust turbine, which again can cause the seals to leak. So that's another problem. It's recommended these oil returns are changed for a brand new one when you fit a new turbo core, or you fit a new turbocharger as a whole, because these are a set diameter, and any sort of damage to them, a kink or something like that, can cause problems, because these are gravity drained, so the oil drains into this area, which in turn goes down here. Now, if the diameters of these aren't correct, then it can cause back pressure, which it's kind of like putting too much oil into your engine. If you put too much oil into your engine, then what happens is it's got to come out somewhere. It makes it like a hydraulic system, you know, like a JCB or something like that, where they lift the buckets up and down and that. So then the oil has to come out somewhere, because there'll be pressure. So it's either it might leak out the O-ring, it might leak out the seals here, or it might just blow the seals. You know, too much oil in here is bad, and too little oil in here is bad. So I hope this kind of explains how a turbo can prematurely fail, and it is definitely important to prime the turbo, and it's even more important to make sure you find out why it failed in the first place and eliminate that problem. The other thing is recommended is that you change the oil when you change the turbo core, or you change the turbocharger as a whole, because you want good clean oil in there from the start. So you need to make sure the turbo's getting good oil. Again, like I say, it's a precision device, and it's also a simple device. Again, it needs, as long as it gets sufficient oil, it's the same as the engine, but this will turn a lot faster. So as you can imagine, a normal engine like a diesel will go up to 5,000 or 6,000 RPM generally, and a modern petrol can go up to 7,000, maybe 8 or 9 up on performance engines. So you imagine you haven't got enough oil in here, and this is spinning at 100,000 RPM. It's going to chew these, it's going to chew them up. So, you know, like I say as well, these are professionally tested on a special machine, just to make sure everything is perfect, so that the most important thing on the machine is that the oil is going through correctly. The other important thing is the cartridge is balanced, because balance is very important, because if it's not balanced, then it can also kill itself, you know. So these things are worth checking. I've heard people say, oh, you don't need to prime a turbo, because as soon as you turn on the engine it's going to provide the oil for the turbo. No, it doesn't. It might provide oil, but it's not going to provide it quick enough. It's got to be there already. That's why you prime the turbo, so you've already got some oil there. So then the couple of seconds before the oil actually starts flowing through the turbo, then you've already got some oil in there. That's why not every manufacturer gives them, but when you buy turbo or turbo cartridge, you usually get a syringe full of oil that you use to prime the turbo. But if you don't get that, it's not a big deal, because you can use engine oil. You just prime it, like I say. I mean, my method maybe not the best way to do it, but I fill it up to the top and then use my thumb to apply a little bit of pressure, hydraulic pressure, and then spin the wheels and then apply a bit more pressure until it starts coming out the bottom. When it comes out the bottom, that's it primed. So I hope this helps you understand why turbochargers and turbocores can fail quickly. 99% of the time it's due to not eliminating the problem that caused the original turbocharger to fail. So again, you've got to make sure that that problem has been eliminated, especially if it's a block DPF. That's a very common one on modern diesels, so you need to make sure that is done. Hope this helps some people. Thank you.